welcome to another episode of Simply Nerding. I'm your host, Steven. I'm joined today by the usual panel, and today we are talking about video game memories, because we have a lot, and they're juicy and awesome.
I have a quick thing I want to say real quick.
Okay, Lisa, go ahead.
So these are some quick Symphonia moments I really enjoyed. Enjoyed one of them. The other one was more of like a frustration that Anthony and I had, because we were playing Tales of Symphonia. We liked to play cooperative, wherein I was kind of watching a movie until we got into battles, in which case I was raining down magical pain upon my enemies. Anyway, spoilers for Tales of Symphonia. But at one point, there's this battle that is supposed to be basically unwinnable. It is technically winnable, but they don't really intend for you to win, right, Ant?
Right, yeah, it changes the scene a little bit if you do win, but it's not expected that you will. It's intended to be scripted as basically too hard.
Basically supposed to be a scripted loss, but you are able to win. You are magic. And so randomly, Anthony and I decided that we were gonna win. How long did it take us? It felt like it was like a half hour, but
I think we probably at least did 3 tries, and I remember we were on our last try and we decided, okay, this is going to be the last one. At least that's what I remember you saying, and secretly in my head I was like, no, I don't accept. If we lose, then we're trying again. But anyway, go on.
Anyway, we ended up finally surviving and somehow winning, and dopamine rush was impeccable.
No.
It was great. Like, we still think back, like, do you remember that one time we beat that guy? Oh my gosh, it was so good. The only thing that's a little bit sad about it is that right afterwards there is a 100% scripted loss. We still made an attempt at a slight one, but it is kind of like, I'm supposed to be triumphant. Don't make me immediately lose to somebody else.
Okay, I'm gonna go. So, yeah, they definitely wanted to make sure that there was still a certain outcome at that point in the story, but the feeling of I'm not supposed to be able to win this, but I can, and then actually doing it. Yeah, I do remember it seemed like one of the AI got wise and was doing a better job of taking aggro, but we just kind of I remember thinking, wow, we haven't died yet, we're doing this, like how much more health does he have? We've got to be getting close. And so I was playing as kind of the hit and run guy with giving the restorative items, and Lisa was raining magical destruction, as she said, and when he finally went down, that instant when it shows the defeat animation, I just remember we basically both threw our controllers to the ground and screamed at the top of our lungs. It was one of the most rewarding memories. It's the top of my list of ones I wanted to talk about, in fact.
Nice.
So,
okay.
Yeah, it's still probably my number 1 favorite gaming memory. It was pure satisfaction distilled into one beautiful moment. It was a lot of fun.
And then my other thing is mostly just complaint that for some reason healing characters AI just loved the sword dancer and wanted to stand right next to it and die instead of healing us.
Always running up to the enemy, starting a healing spell, and then when she gets hit, impossible.
Those are formative memories. Rime! Get away from the stupid boss!
I have a memory that's the opposite. A battle you're supposed to be able to win, but I could not.
Oh yeah.
Infamous memory. It was such a defeating that I never played the game again.
Oh no.
If anyone knows, what's that?
I say, from an outside perspective, like Anthony, David, and Steven were all like obsessed with this game, and then after this happened, it just kind of melted into
Yes.
Anyway.
If anyone knows this game, it's called Viewtiful Joe. and it's like a action fighting game. It had some really cool abilities, like the ability to slow time a little bit so your punches like hit super hard and like really crunchy feedback. Like it was really satisfying, and you could also speed things up, and when you hit super fast and like cause fire because of how fast you were hitting. Like they had really cool abilities, and it was a fun game. But I beat the game. My next goal was to beat the secret bosses, the secret ending or whatever. And I guess spoilers for the game if you haven't played it. But the secret final boss is Captain Blue, and he has like 10 phases. I don't know. I'm exaggerating, of course. He has a ton of phases, and they're all just nightmarishly hard. And I think I literally spent hours trying to defeat him, fighting, and it was getting to the point where my parents were like, "It's time to stop playing. We told you that like an hour ago." And I was like, "No, I can't yet. I've got to do this." And it was the closest I'd ever come to defeating. Like it was maybe the final phase.
I think you were going to win.
I was going to win, and my parents were ranting from upstairs, and I just was desperate. And suddenly the screen just goes out. They pulled the plug on me.
No, that's the worst.
It was a circuit breaker, right? I used that.
Was that?
I'm pretty sure it was. They used the circuit breaker, so you didn't even have the warning of them coming into the room.
Yeah, no warning. It just cuts off. The screen goes black, and my brain broke.
Yeah.
I couldn't ever touch the game again.
I remember the rage. David's never been much of an angry person, but the rage. The best way I can describe it is by using one of Bill Cosby's routines when he's describing a moment where his wife has a conniption.
Yes.
And the way he described it is her face split, the skin and the hair split, and there was nothing but her skull, and the light burst from her eyes and fire, and she screamed.
Yep.
That was David in that moment.
I felt that, and now that I'm a parent, I can see their perspective.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as an older person now, I can be like, David had a history of playing until his eyes were incredibly bloodshot. So,
Hey,
why did like stop? But
I've learned to blink since then. So.
You heard it here first.
But, I can understand their perspective. For all they knew that I was just rebelling and refusing to stop playing. They weren't like down there aware of everything that was happening, and you didn't have any context. So I don't blame them, but I still don't think I can ever play that game again.
Which is sad because it's a really good one.
It comes so close after like so many attempts, and to have it like fail for that reason, all the progress, oh my goodness.
Let's not go too far down that memory lane, dude.
Nope.
The anger's coming back.
I remember though being like, I remember you asking if you could at least pause the game and leave it, and they wouldn't let you pause it. And I remember thinking that was so unreasonable of them. And then they pulled the plug, and I was like, oh
Oh
they
man.
They didn't. And then I was like, hey, hide from David, hide.
yeah, to be honest, I think I was also there and immediately made myself scarce because I could not take the emotional turmoil.
Well, I appreciate your empathy.
David was scarred to this day.
Yep.
It was scarring enough that I still bear some of them myself, and I wasn't even the player.
I'm glad I can laugh about it now and share it with all of you.
Give it a few decades of separation, and it's a little bit funnier.
Yes.
2 decades.
It's definitely unforgettable and a little bit funny.
I would say about a week ago, for those who've been checking out the Hailstorm channel, I've been playing through Chrono Trigger. And I'd say one of the most memorable moments that I've had in Chrono Trigger was the scene for the spoiler alert for anyone that hasn't played, where Luca goes back in time. It's one of Luca's memories, and she has to save her mother from getting caught in the machine and ends up being paraplegic. But anyway, I frantically ran around the house trying to find out how to get down to the mother, first of all. And I had heard that there was some piece of paper or something that you could read to find out what the password was, and all this time this eerie music is playing in the background, and it freaked me out. And like I said, I wasn't super young or anything. It was just last week. I was scared to death. My adrenaline was high. I was like, oh no, what do I do? And I ended up failing. I ended up going to the machine where you're supposed to input a password, and I got 3 letters in out of the 4 before the screen went black, and you hear this terrible screeching sound. And anyway, that will forever scar me. I'm sure it has scarred me. But I was so traumatized, in fact, that I was like, no, this is unacceptable. I'm gonna load my scum save or whatever, my save scum. And
I intend to save scum.
Yeah, yep. So I did. I saved scum, and then I reloaded that and went back to save her. And I was like, okay, this is the only acceptable outcome for me. But yeah, anyway, so that was a good moment with Chrono Trigger.
It's formative. I was the one giving Austin some of the advice of what to. Before he even got to that point, I'm like, "There's going to be a point when something like this happens, and this is what you need to do." And yeah,
that advice help.
Oh yeah, I mean, it kind of helped. It also kind of it didn't really stress me out more, but I was definitely frantically looking around the house for what he had mentioned to get some clue, and that's what I think added to the additional stress. Is like I can't just go up to the machine and help her. I have to figure out what this clue is and where it is. And so I'm going room to room, just trying to and all the meanwhile she's going down this conveyor belt about to get into the machine, and it's just adding to the stress and the anxiety. Oh man, that's my Chrono Trigger moment.
You know what? I'm gonna have to play this game again, because one of my favorite memories of Chrono Trigger is I don't even remember some of the stuff you're talking about. I don't know if I beat it, but the first time you travel back in time to like the Middle Ages or something,
mm-hmm.
and the piano music's playing. I think the song is called "Memories of Green." You know, I have so much nostalgia for that. Like made me feel like I was some time traveler lost in ancient, in the past. And anyway, I love that game for what I did play of it, and now I want to play it again.
That's awesome.
I wonder if a lot of the moments like the one you just described too, Austin, is probably helped a lot by Akira Toriyama, his animation style, the cutscenes that they made for it.
Mm-hmm.
The way I played it, they didn't have those scenes, so I'm kind of curious to go back and experience it that way. And also, just throwing that out there, rest in peace, Akira Toriyama.
Absolutely. Yeah, did fantastic work. He was the original Dragon Ball Z artist, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
What, David?
Can I share one more? We've shared a lot of like scary or frustrating moments. I want to share like a positive one from a recent game, playing Mario Wonder. So I was playing late at night. I was playing one of the final challenge stage. So it's optional to play it, but I love the game so much I wanted to do all the levels I could. And so I was playing fairly late, and I was doing the online mode, and it was late enough that there was only like a handful of people in the room with me still in the level, and after a while it's a tough level. There was only one other person, and I died, and they moved on. I thought they were long gone, but I kept getting through the level, and then I eventually got to a later part and realized, this is the same player that was here like a half hour ago. we're still in this level together. You know, we at first thought we were trying to do it on our own, but then we started cooperating. We started helping each other out. We'd put up our little standees so that you could help revive each other, and then we'd like use the little emotes and celebrate every time we got past a difficult obstacle. In the final area, I managed to make it past. The other player died, and I realized I was at the ending flag. And after like playing through this level with them for like an hour, I was like, I can't leave him behind. So I waited at the ending goal until they finally made it back, and they died again. But because I was there, they were able to like bring their ghost over, and I could revive them right at the end.
That is so cool.
That's epic.
We jumped on the flag together, and we were both like emoting like crazy. I don't know. It was
Wholesome.
That's very
so
wholesome. Yeah.
so wholesome, and like, you know, that's when I was like, well, I can see the power of this, the way they did the online for this game, and how it like encourages cooperation, and it was such a great memory. So anyway,
Yeah.
That's great.
I wanted to end on a positive thing. If you haven't played Mario Wonder, it's an awesome game. If you think it's too easy, then try and do the challenge levels. Do the unlock everything, and you'll have a really good challenge. It's a great game.
I would call it. It's my opinion, at least, is that it is the finest 2D Mario game in existence.
I would agree. Yeah. Xenoblade 3, if we're talking about positive, memorable experiences.
Take me on my headphones.
I know this. No, I'm not going to spoil anything. But this game, there's a certain point when you get to this game, I was in tears, and I'll never forget. Like, I've never had a game make my eyes water. You know what I mean? But this game will move you. It will transform your life. I don't know if that's cliche to say, but it's very touching. It's very moving. I think Xenoblade 3 is going to go down in history as having some of the most memorable moments that I've ever experienced in gaming. And I know this game gets a ton of praise on this channel already. Yeah, definitely for those of you, especially on this panel, that haven't played it yet, go play it. What are you doing?
Hey, I'm trying to work through the first one.
There you go.
Anthony is currently the GIF where the guy smiles and nods as it slowly zooms in on him.
What's happening? Xenoblade, we've probably said this about 20 different times in 20 different episodes, but Xenoblade 3 is tied for my favorite game of all time. It has some of, honestly, the most emotional storytelling of any entertainment medium in existence, and it's a tearjerker. You can be a stone-hearted person, and it'll get you. There's some powerful moments.
You can be a stone-hearted monster. I cry in this game.
How did she know?
The funny thing is, too, once you go through those scenes and you experience it, you develop this almost Stockholm syndrome-like desire to go back and re-experience it by watching other people react to it. Mm-hmm. I do that all the time.
I did that too. Oh yeah, it's almost a nice way to validate. It's like, I'm not alone here, right, guys? Like.
And almost all the people on those videos are commenting saying, I don't cry at anything, but I was a mess. I was sobbing on the floor. I could hardly see. Like, storytelling, absolute top-notch. Peak fiction, as the fan base calls it, of which obviously I'm part of. Very worth playing. Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't cry about a ton of stuff either. But yeah, this one got me a couple times where I was getting watery-eyed and stuff. It was really good. Really good story, good themes. It's an amazing game. I want to share one more because as we're talking about games that made us cry, I'm sorry, we keep making this go on, but it's rare enough that a game makes me cry that I want to share this one. Mm-hmm. There's an indie game called Rime, and it's a Zelda-like. I think Lisa might be the only other person that's played it, but I don't want to spoil too much. But you like spend the game playing as this young boy, and you're traversing this dark, scary world, avoiding scary monsters, and you know, solving puzzles and trying to just make it through. And a lot of the theming of the places you explore, I think, is supposed to represent stages of grief and things like that. Wow, that might be getting a little emotional about it. But the ending, man, I was bawling. because and it's funny because I showed it to my wife. She's like, I don't get it. And I was like, well, you didn't go through it with them.
You weren't there. You wouldn't understand.
Where were you?
My goodness, I don't know, something about like, you know, you as the player experiencing like this theming of stages of grief and like and empathizing with the difficult experiences this boy is going through, and then at the end realizing, I don't know, kind of the twist and what it all means and stuff. My goodness,
That's awesome.
My wife walked in and I was just like, I was a mess.
Sounds like
So if you're looking for like
That's
more
awesome.
emotional storytelling, that's one worth checking out.
I will say I have a weak spot for games that can make me feel things, you know, or teach me things about myself. That's one of the biggest reasons I love Xenoblade 3 so much. So it sounds like I need to check out Rime too.
Yeah. That one's been on my radar for a while. I remember looking at it and thinking, oh, this looks like Breath of the Wild. This could be an amazing game.
Alrighty. Oh, wait, I did want to throw one more modern one out. There's a number of others that maybe I'll just give honorable mentions. First of all, the Beyond Good and Evil chase scene was one of the most epic things I've ever experienced.
Oh yes. Oh my gosh.
That part was just absolute dopamine rush. The final battle in Sonic Adventure 2 battle in outer space against the Bio Lizard.
Unforgettable, yes.
Unforgettable. Yeah, the mix of, I mean, the battle itself wasn't even that complicated or necessarily epic on its own right, but the mix of it with the setting and then the live and learn song, man, that created the perfect mood. And I remember David, Steven, and I were all just, you know, laughing hysterically, starry-eyed, just thinking this is the most epic thing we've ever experienced. There's that one. But okay, so going to the more modern, first of all, again, this whole thing has basically been one giant spoiler warning, so, you know, consider that. I think I'm probably the only one here who has played Final Fantasy XVI. It's got some very epic moments. Let's just say they basically took Godzilla versus King Kong level kaiju battles and made it actually part of the gameplay at certain moments. Probably the most epic thing that I have ever experienced in any video game ever is a battle you do in outer space against you know, some sort of like omega form of Bahamut, and you're playing as like you know, this merging of Ifrit and Phoenix, and you just this insane epic space battle that just it's basically like the Bio Lizard but actually crazy good combat mechanics. Probably the most hype thing I've ever seen in a video game. Just putting that out there too. That's the high watermark now for me of cinematic video game moments.
It's interesting to hear you say that, because I feel like overall you weren't that impressed with Final Fantasy 16. So
well, see, I mean, the thing is, and I'll just put it this way: some of it was a bit of a mixed bag for me. The side quests are 100% forgettable. There's probably not a single one that's important or meaningful or fun in any way. The other thing I didn't love, that, I mean, it was rare enough that I was able to either gloss. I basically just shout it down when it happened, but it was kind of a vulgar game at times. It used some F-bombs sometimes, and I didn't appreciate that. But so there's things I had against it. But man, when it did those kaiju battles, especially the later ones, those were the highlights of the game, and it had some good gameplay as well. But in some ways, the story, I mean, I just didn't feel like the best that Final Fantasy has to offer, and so I had some complaints, but I'll tell you what, that Bahamut battle in outer space is basically reason enough to play the game. So Jack, if you're listening, you add your comment and let everyone know how right I am.
All right. Well, thank you very much for listening. If you like this content, please be sure to subscribe, like, and ring that notification bell so you can hear more of our ranting about more of our gaming memories in the future, perhaps, as we create more, because there's always new games coming out, always new experiences to go through. So stay tuned on that.
We'd love to hear your memorable moments.
That's what I wanted to say. In the comments down below.
Yeah.
Please do. We'd love to hear it. Oh, also, we have started a Discord community of sorts. Be sure to hop on over there and share your experiences there with us as well. We'd love to hear them.
And just so that it felt authentic, we actually did create it on Discord.
Yes. That is a true story.
The of sorts part can be taken off.
It can be taken off. That's
actually a real Discord server, so come join us.
I like my joke.
It was funny.
All right. Oh yeah, and be sure to buy some merch if you want to. We also opened a merch store. You can see it down in the comment you can see it in the description below. And until next time, guys,
Keep it nerdy.